Up on the Roof is the 20th episode of Season 8 of Full House. This is directed by John Tracy, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. We are getting scarily close to the end. We will lament on that when we get there. But for now, this episode is pretty decent. I will talk about the two main parts of the narrative in turn, but first we have quite a fun introduction, and this is because Becky and Jessie wake up Joey, who's asleep on the kitchen counter. And we get some fun impressions, and apparently Joey had been awake all night creating a product that he calls Silly Dough, which is a combination of silly, putty and Play-Doh, and Nicky and Alex excitedly get to go and test it out, and we'll come back to that a little later. We then have two parts of the narrative. I will talk about the bit focusing on Becky and Michelle first, and then DJ, Kimmy and Jessie. Becky says that she'll teach Michelle how to cook. We get some interesting comments from the others asking who's going to teach Becky to cook. And we then get to see Becky and Michelle trying to cook. It's very clear they're out of their depth, but actually they serve a meal for everybody and everybody really enjoys it and it goes down really well. Well done to Becky and Michelle. They tried, they succeeded, everybody's happy. But then Comet starts to get a bit sick because he did have some of the food. And first of all, there should be a lesson in there not to give dogs human food. I had a dog, he did get human food. If I had a dog again, I would definitely be a lot more cautious. But that's not actually the lesson here. It does, of course, seem initially like Comet got sick from Becky's food. But then we learned that actually he ate Joey's Silly Dough. He was fine. It wasn't too emotional. He obviously was just feeling a little bit sick. I'd like to think they took him to the vet just to be safe, but certainly it wasn't too emotional. He was absolutely fine. And I do like that we had a little bit of mystery there as we were led to believe for a few minutes that it was maybe down to Becky's cooking. We then come to the main narrative, and DJ and Kimmy are talking about senior pranks, and DJ wants to leave a mark because she is very much goody two-shoes. It's not the kind of thing anybody would expect her to do, and Jessie is well known for doing the biggest senior prank, so she kind of wants to top it. And initially she suggested printing some fake stories in the school newspaper, and then we hear about Jessie's prank and she realises, yeah, the newspaper story isn't really going to cut it. And it's also worth saying here as well, in the UK we don't have senior pranks. I don't know if it's maybe something that schools or, well, people are starting to do because of American influence, but certainly when I was at school it was not a thing, and I'm so glad it was not a thing. Kimmy then ropes Duane in, and DJ gets an idea. Cut immediately to them lifting the principal's car onto the roof, which I have to say could be a very expensive prank. And it seems like things will go fine. The principal will realise the car is missing. Everybody will see the car on the roof. Fair enough. I don't know how they were going to get it down without people realising they were the one operating the crane or whatever it was they were using. But nevertheless, we don't actually have to think about that because it unfolds in a way that's not necessarily what DJ had planned. It starts to rain, and they realise that the roof is down on the car, the top's down, and the interior will get destroyed. And DJ doesn't want to cause monetary damage. She just wants to confuse the principal. So with Jessie's help, Jessie's going to hotwire the car. They rush to the roof, but the security guard catches them. Well, the security guard catches Jessie. He tells DJ to run and hide. And he will take the heat for this because, well, he doesn't really think anything bad will happen, whereas obviously it could severely jeopardise DJ's future. And I think it's nice that we do have a lesson there that you probably shouldn't do this. If you care about your future, you want to go to college, you probably shouldn't do a prank that could backfire tremendously, as we see here. Jessie is then taken to the principal's office, and the principal's about to phone the police. It is a serious crime. I mean, it could be a serious crime. I don't know if moving a car would technically fall under any broken law because you haven't stolen it, you've just relocated it. I'm not really sure. Maybe it would come under theft. But either way, Jessie didn't really see this as a big deal. The principal's about to make the phone call, and Jessie is not concerned. DJ then walks in and confesses to everything. And I do think DJ absolutely 100% did the right thing here. It was really good to see. I think she really regretted this prank. I think she realised that it's not something she really needed to do. But what I loved most about this, and maybe it's not the best lesson because I would imagine, well, maybe I'm wrong about this. I was going to say I would imagine most principals wouldn't have the same attitude as this principal, but maybe I'm wrong there. Let me know if you have any thoughts on that. But the principal obviously is surprised that DJ would do this, and then basically insinuates that he actually doesn't mind the pranks, but he has to look outraged because otherwise what's the fun of the prank? Is that the case for most principals? Do most principals actually not mind the prank and they just feign fury whenever they happen? I don't know. But that isn't the best message, because it's kind of telling people that actually your principal may look annoyed, but actually they love the prank that you did. So it's not the best message for younger viewers, but certainly it was an interesting direction in which to take it. And then I really hated the ending. The very, very end, I absolutely hated. Kimmy came in and tried to blame it all on Duane. I absolutely hate it. What they should have done was have Duane come in and take the heat himself. That would have been interesting for two reasons. One, it would have been a really nice thing for Duane to do. At this point, we don't really know that much about him, and for him to volunteer, that would have been a really sweet thing to do. Also, and maybe I'm judging him, but I feel like maybe he's not destined to go to college at least as much as DJ is, so the repercussions might not have been as severe, and he might have realised that and took the heat. And second of all, it would have given him a chance to speak and actually give him a bit more dialogue, and it would have been a shock and a surprise to the viewer, and it would have been a really powerful moment. So they really ruined it by making Kimmy look like an arse, because she's just basically thrown her boyfriend under the bus for no reason, except for the fact that he's clearly a pushover. But also it would have been so much stronger if they'd gone that different direction with Duane, and they still could have had a really powerful, strong, moving, and probably quite funny ending to see this other side of Duane, this much more probably animated side of Duane. So yeah, I think they took a very bad direction at the end, but it didn't really affect my overall enjoyment of the episode. I think there are some really strong takeaways here, and ultimately Up on the Roof is definitely not a bad episode of Full House.